How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boylei Hobby Time. As you can see here, I've been building a little town, and here are all the buildings so far. That is aside from Tinu's Traveling Buffalo Show, which is a little too big to fit on the table when I shot this. It's been a while since I added a new building, so today we're going to be building a general store, which, including the circus tent, is number 9. After choosing the base, the first step was to grab some balsa wood. I just restocked my balsa collection with a variety of dimensions, and for the walls of this building, I used this nice wide sheet. I cut it into 4 pieces, including a back wall with a pointed top and a false front. To add some dimension and detail, I cut up some thinner strips to frame the walls. For some character, I used a wire brush to give the wood its grain back and apply a nice old weathered look. I gave all of the large flat areas the same treatment with the wire brush, but I also scored some panel lines with a sculpting tool as well. Once all 4 of the walls had been cut, wire brushed, and panel lined, I glued them together to form the shape of a box, which is the base shape of most of the buildings in this town. Come to think of it, it's the base shape of most buildings in every other town as well. And speaking of boxes, I used this bank to make sure the spacing was correct before gluing the walls down to the base. On the left side of the building, I added a deck to hold some bulk goods and keep everything off of the dirt, because dirty goods don't sell well and this is a business after all. After giving the deck some character with a little knife, I added a boardwalk to the front of the building. Once all the planks had been cut, I assembled them into a little sidewalk. I then proceeded to add some door frames, and I took the offcuts from the back wall, I flipped them around, and I used them as the brackets to support the roof against the back of the false front. Now, this angle at the front is exactly the same as the angle on the back. I then threw a little ridge pole from peak to peak, and I used the same size balsa strips to make some final trim pieces around the rest of the building. I cut up some plastic mesh and I glued it to a few places for some simple windows. I also added a frame around each window, and then I threw on some doors. The doors are repurposed pieces from other model kits that I had lying around. The last of the main structural details of the building to go on was this diamond pattern styrene roof. After that, it was time to add some bits and greeblies. I borrowed this little box from a skid steer model kit, which made a nice platform to hold some antennas on the roof. I added a few more mechanical details to the roof, and then I started filling out the deck with some barrels and crates and boxes, and whatever this big thing is. Kinda looks like an ice maker, or a generator. We'll go with generator for now. I threw on some additional boxes and bags and a ladder for anyone who needed to get up onto the roof to do any work on that mechanical stuff. I extended the ladder, or at least the ladder's reach, with some planks that I fixed directly to the roof. I wanted to connect the generator to the appliance on the roof, so I drilled 3 corresponding holes in each. I bent some brass rods, and then I ran the rods from each fixture to the other fixture. I used some additional brass pieces from K&S Precision Metals, made some antennas to sit on the flat section of that roof-mounted unit that we installed earlier. The antennas were the last thing to add, and the construction of this little general store was done. The next thing to do was to clean up my hobby mat and get this bad boy ready for painting. Before I primed it, I added some texture paste to the big metal box, then I took it outside and I primed it black. For the painting on this one, I used the airbrush to put down all the base colors, starting with a dark brown and working my way up to a sun-bleached wood color. After all the airbrushing was done, I went into the details with a brush. Just like a real-life Wild Western general store, this is the place the townfolk go to barter and trade for goods and materials like flour, fabric, capacitors, and chupacabra repellent. To finish up the paint job, I weathered everything with a dirty wash, and then a dusty dry brush, and I cleaned up the side of the base with some matte black. Next, I wanted to add some posters. These are leftovers from my collaboration with Tinu of Craftastrophe. I will link that video in the description, as well as his channel, which you should definitely go check out. After the posters were up, I did the lettering above the door. I traced it out with a pencil first to make sure that I had the spacing correct. Then I followed it up with a permanent marker. I added some additional embellishment to capture the attention of any potential customers, and after that, I called this building good. For anyone who's been following this series, you may remember that I left this project slightly unfinished. I added a large monster cage, but I never added a monster to the cage, so I finally decided to do that today. I've featured a few Sasquatch variations in this world so far, including a skunk ape and a crazy desert hermit Sasquatch. This universe also has the more classic gorilla-like Yeti and Bigfoot variants as well. This knucklehead is going to be who's currently occupying the cage next to the sheriff's office. After I primed the figure, I kind of realized that it looked like he was singing a power ballad, or some epic villain song, from whatever movie he thinks he's the main character of. While I paint this Bigfoot, I'd like to take some time to clear up some details of this universe that may have been misunderstood. The monsters animals of this universe are truly just animals. Like Sasquatch, they may have social structures like chimpanzees or lions, but none of the animals of this world have sapience or higher reasoning. They also can't speak human languages like English or the languages of the natives. They speak with grunts and growls. The cage next to the sheriff's office is just for holding big critters that have been captured by the monster hunting sheriff or anyone that he's rented the cage out to. It's not for members of society that are monsters that have broken the law. I decided not to glue the cage down because I may want to swap out the monster that's in there in the future, but he'll occupy it for now. That is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out as always to my patrons. You guys are the best. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.